Day 69. So again, everything's kind of tranquil and settled at the moment, which is really nice, and where I'm having kind of a chilled out weekend to make up for all that I've been doing over the last few weeks, I've not necessarily been talking to a huge amount of people about their experiences of mental health or life in the way that I usually would have done, which generally tends to inform what I talk about in the videos towards the end of the day. It'll be my musings on a conversation that I had earlier where somebody's described having a lack of understanding about something or a struggle with something, and then I'll offer my thoughts on it later in the day, just in case anybody else has the same problem. But where I haven't had those conversations for the past couple of days, it's been quite hard to find something to necessarily talk about. And I started thinking about the things that I haven't necessarily been able to help with over the last 69 days, where people have spoken to me or messaged me about the things they bottle up and don't tell anybody about and really want to talk about but they don't feel like they can. And the only response I've really had is, well, if you don't talk about it, then no one can really help. And what I should have done is kind of question, why don't you feel like you can talk about things, and look back into why I didn't talk about anything for 10 years. And thinking about my time, there's lots of reasons why I didn't talk about things. It was either because it felt like it wasn't anybody else's business, or because I didn't want to make excuses for things that I'd done and say, well, it's not me, it's that, or because I didn't think it was okay and that there was something wrong with me. And then you go through the whole, well, what are the pros and cons about talking about it? I don't see any pros to it because I don't think it'll help, but I can see the negatives might be that people will think differently of me, and people will see it as a weakness that I can't just keep calm and carry on, and that it felt like my ability to control my emotions was not good. And for me, I think that's where it actually steps into being ill, is when the emotions do become irrational and uncontrollable, because you stop functioning in the way that you actually are built to function. Ergo, you are not well. And I think what I should have said to those people that I was unable to help is that when I watch the Paralympics and I see people with really obvious difficulties doing amazing things, which is them overcoming the problems that they have, to be able to do something that a person without those difficulties would be able to do quite easily and do it really well. When I see that, I don't see it as a sign of weakness. I see that as a massive strength, and I find it incredibly inspiring. And that's the same response that I've had to this, where everybody has been incredibly supportive, and people have told me that I'm very strong and brave and inspirational and all these other things, when actually I just feel like I'm just responding to it in my own way, and allows me to do one of the things that's most important to me, which is help other people. And if I'm totally honest, when I started this, I didn't think I would even be in the place that I am now at the end of the 100 days. I thought I would still be pretty much where I started, but just slightly better. And when I think of what I've gone through in the last 69 days, it's not been easy. The hardest things have been the self-exploration and the facing of my past, because the significant life events from birth to where I am now that have happened ultimately shape my template for responding to things. So things that have happened in the past will affect the things that I'm scared of or love or hate or like or drive for, because I built my understanding of being a human being on those experiences. And if I can delve into the ones that really affected me, which at times was incredibly painful, then I can understand that the template that I built was built on something that maybe shouldn't have happened in the first place, and therefore the template is wrong. And understanding that the template is wrong makes it easy to then be open to building a new template and trying to allow my perception of life and my surroundings to change. And that can't really be done without being totally honest and open about the things that I've done and things that have happened to me throughout my life. And to be honest, I think I was quite fortunate in that when I had my first session with a professional, I was in such a state that I'd lost all control of everything. I was suicidal and entirely out of control of my own emotions and almost my behaviours, that when I was asked questions about different things in my life, it all just came flooding out because I didn't have any control mechanism to stop saying things because I was ashamed or felt weird about them. So the majority of me actually opening up to professional help happened very early on. And it didn't make me think that those things were okay all of a sudden, but working through them and making sense of the fact that those experiences had shaped my outlook on the world started to allow me to change my outlook, but then also meant I wasn't dragging those things along with me all the time. I didn't even realise I was. But opening up about them and trying to make them better or coming to terms with them was what the turning point was. And that simply would never have happened if I hadn't have opened up about them in the first place. So all in all, I suppose what I'm saying is that the positive versus the negative of talking about stuff, there clearly is a positive, and hopefully you can see my journey as a positive reason for talking about stuff. And the negatives that I had in my head before I started it were never what was going to happen, because like I say, when you watch the Paralympics, you're inspired. So hopefully that makes up slightly for the people that I was unable to help recently. And share, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.